a friend of mine invited me to a yoga class, actually a girl who I'd been in a film with, and I'd never taken a yoga class in my life, and so I ended up going to this yoga class. And I remember being late for it, and I walked in. It was a women's class, actually here at Golden Bridge. It was a class taught by Gurmukh, my first yoga teacher. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm here for the yoga class." They were like, "Oh yeah, you're late, but not to worry." And they took me to the room, and I walked in, and all of a sudden I saw this class packed mat to mat with women, all sitting in front of this lady who was wearing this big white turban. And I kind of like just stood there. I'd never seen anything like that before in my life. And she looked at me and she pointed to the one mat space that was only available in the class. And I trepidatiously walked in and placed my mat and sat there. And I think it was, I still remember to this day, we were 1999, around October something. I took that class, and by the end of the class I was just crying and weeping, and I don't know what was happening to me. So after class I went up to speak to her. There was a big line of people waiting to speak to this lady, and I was very confused and didn't really know what was going on. And I said to her something like, I'm very fit, I play tennis and I swim and I run, but I feel very exhausted, and I don't know what's happening to me. I feel very emotional. And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, this is nothing like tennis." And that's all she said to me. And I left thinking that's a strange answer to my question. And I went home, and from that night on, I kept going back to Golden Bridge, to this yoga studio, day after day after day after day. And my practice just became very, very concentrated and very urgent and very quick from that moment on. And I think it was from that moment on that I started to see the world in a different way. It was the first time that I had really looked inside myself, and the journey, my spiritual journey, which I was not looking for intentionally, started from that October day in 1999. Moving forward, I practiced a lot of yoga, and in 2003, while I was still acting, I was in a soap opera, I, with the insistence of my mum, ended up taking a yoga teacher's training. My mum was like, "You really should take this teacher's training. You're so interested in yoga." I was like, "Oh, I don't have time," but she insisted. And so I ended up taking this yoga teacher's training with my teacher Gurmukh and Guru Shabad and some other teachers at Golden Bridge. And I graduated within that year. And in that year, I met my husband, Christopher Miglino, and we ended up having 3 children together. We ended up opening a yoga studio with our teachers at that time, and in Hollywood, and we were going to India, we were teaching. It was just all about yoga and the practice of yoga and teaching yoga together. And in around 2005, I started to study Ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga. And Ayurveda is the natural healing science of India. And when I studied Ayurveda, I realized that the lifestyle of being integrated and being whole actually completed the yoga practice for me, the meditation practice for me, because without the conscious effort to become integrated and to be whole and to take responsibility for all the things that life brings to us, from our nutrition, our psychology, our vocation, our longing, our social relations, really we didn't have something that would give us harmony, that would give us sustained peace. And so the practice of Ayurveda and the practice of yoga together infused for me my life's purpose to move into the world and to support individuals in understanding the fundamental nature of how the manifest world integrates into themselves, and how that can shape your reality, and how that can really afford you the ability to reach your potential. So moving to why we've created this fund for the kids, the Chandanni Scholarship Fund was created by my husband and I just recently, because for many years we've always wondered how different our life would have been if, when we were moving through our coming of age between the ages of 14 to 17 or 18, those really formidable years when we start to see the world as something that we move into and start to become empowered and start to become really individuals in the world, how that would affect us if we were exposed to mindfulness, if we were exposed to meditation, if we were exposed to yoga. Chris and I have now decided to create an organization where we help support taking children from underserved backgrounds to places where they can experience their mindfulness, where they can experience their being, they can experience meditation and diversity in ways that perhaps they could never be exposed to living where they do. This year is our inaugural year. We're taking 14 children, hoping that they will all hand in their submission slips with the due on January 4th with us to India to attend the International Yoga Festival in Rishikesh, which is the birthplace of yoga. And we are looking forward to taking these kids to India, as these kids probably would never have the opportunity to experience anything like this, especially right now in their lives. They've all been asked to submit pieces of writing or video to tell us what would qualify them for coming to India with us, and each one of them has been so excited. Originally we were only supposed to take 8 of them, but we got 14 submissions and we just didn't have the heart to tell the rest that they couldn't go. We couldn't pick which ones we felt should come and which ones we felt, weren't qualified. So we decided to raise additional funds to be able to offer this opportunity to all 14 of them. We are working with a great school headed by an incredible principal, Kevin Bryant, in Brooklyn, New York. The name of the school is Francis Perkins Academy. And these kids are really intrigued and interested to experience a culture and a place that is so different from theirs. I think growing up in an urban city like New York, especially for kids that are from challenging neighborhoods, is a time where you start to feel the world on your shoulders really quick. I think when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, those are the years when you start to really become confident or self-aware or self-conscious or challenged or strong or able to really have an opinion about the world that will set you for sort of great numbers of your years ahead. So we feel that taking these kids at that time, in these ages, will allow these kids to formulate an idea about themselves and the world that is inaccessible to them living in an urban environment such as New York City. It'll be interesting for us to see how India will affect these kids, from the food to the landscape to the traditions to the culture to even exposing them to meditation and yoga in India. It'll be interesting to see how these sensory and circumstantial environments will affect them, and see if what we feel will come true. We feel that taking these kids to India and giving them this opportunity for only 12 days will allow them to foster abilities and potentials in their own selves that they are not privy to at the moment. We're nervous a little bit, and we're also very excited. We're taking 2 of their teachers with us from Francis Perkins Academy along for the ride. We are going to document them. We're going to share with them and offer to them as much as we can to give them the most epic experience possible. So I don't know, I feel that for my own personal journey, up until my early 20s, life was a roller coaster. It was good and then bad, good and then bad, dark and then light, dark and then light, and I didn't have any tools. Nobody had said to me, close your eyes and breathe. Nobody said to me, maybe you should stop eating so much sugar and drink some green juice. Nobody said to me, you are everything you need to make everything happen in your life. Nobody said to me those things. I didn't know about having the ability to get myself from A to B without falling really hard, and then not having the courage and being scared to pick myself up. Nobody showed me or directed me or introduced me to tools that could help me achieve that. I think life was very intimidating, and especially when you're in your formidable years, when you're growing from 14 to 18, it's really important to guide kids, to introduce them, to support them, to encourage them, to validate them and acknowledge them, to teach them that who they are and what they have within them is enough for them to discover and to offer the world exactly what it needs. So without becoming indoctrinating or imposing or meddling into their cultures or their life, to just share with them tools of mindfulness, tools of wellness, tools of unity and compassion that will allow them to just take off and to experience their lives in a wholeness and in a potential that I don't think is possible without those ingredients. And this is an opportunity for those kids to really experience that. So I feel very humbled and very honored that we have the opportunity to take these kids and see what will happen.